Now, I'm going to move on to discuss the term catchment area, which is probably one which you're not already terribly familiar with, but it's very important if you're thinking of applying for a grammar school. And what a catchment area is, it's a geographical area which gives priority admission to pupils who live within that catchment area. Now, I've put an example up on the screen there for you. That's Woodford County High School in the middle of that picture. Woodford County High School is a grammar school for girls just east of London, in the London borough of Redbridge. And you can see that it has a catchment area which includes the London borough of Redbridge, which is the inner line, but also includes areas outside the borough. So if you're thinking of moving to the UK, you would need to be moving into an area which forms part of a catchment area for a grammar school. And what happens is that schools require proof that you live there and have lived there for best part of a year before your child is actually admitted to the school. And this proof of residence includes things like what we call our council tax, which would be the local tax bill or utility bills and so forth. Now, some schools have what we call a rank order process, which means they don't have a catchment area and they admit pupils purely on the basis of their score in the test in rank order, regardless of where they live. Those are relatively few in number, and some actually have a combination of the two. So some schools might admit pupils from their catchment area who get a certain score in the test, and then they might admit another group of pupils from outside their catchment area who would have had to have scored more highly in the test than those people living closer to the school. So there is no standard pattern. Each school operates slightly differently, although some groups of schools, such as Buckinghamshire or Lincolnshire, they would operate a common system among a group of schools. So, to be honest, it's a bit of a minefield to navigate, even for people in the UK. So it's complicated if you're unfamiliar with it. Also, these catchment areas tend to have quite a dramatic effect on the house prices of the areas in which they are found. And that's an article there from the Daily Mail showing 10 grammar schools in the southeast of England mainly, and the impact on the house prices in the catchment area. So it is something which people are very keen to do, is to move into areas where there are grammar schools, and that tends to push the property prices up quite significantly. Yes and no. Now, every school publishes their admissions policy, so that's what you'd be looking for. So if it was Woodford County High School you'd Google Woodford County High School admissions policy, and you would then read through the documents. It's not terribly easy to follow. Some have helpful maps, others do not. And sometimes it's held by the school, and sometimes it's held on the website of the local authority where the school is actually situated. So it can be quite difficult to find. And in fact, when I was trying to Google for catchment area maps while preparing this presentation, I didn't get as many as I thought I was going to get popping up. So it can be really complicated, which is why, as Willow says, there are forums with endless questions asking for a clarification about this. Yes, I think it varies a bit depending on what proportion of children the grammar school actually selects. So in an area like Kent, which is in the southeast of England, because there are lots of grammar schools and it's a grammar school system, as it were, the grammar schools will take the top 25% of pupils. So effectively it means that the other schools will not be as academic. It doesn't mean they're not good schools. And the people can go to university from those schools. But there is more of a divergence between the really academically successful schools and everybody else. Whereas in other parts of the country where you've only got one grammar school, they don't select anything like as big a percentage. It might be 2 to 5%. So that means that the other schools around in the local area could be very good. They won't be as academic, but it doesn't mean that they won't also be very good.